power in the shinobi world was never meant to be loud, it was meant to be inevitable. While most see elements as tools for destruction, true masters treat earth, wind, water, fire, and lightning as extensions of their will, bending the battlefield before the fight even begins. When a shinobi fully understands their element, victory stops being a question of strength and becomes a matter of timing, control, and intent. This analysis dives into how a select few legends transformed simple chakra natures into absolute dominance, proving that the most dangerous power isn't the one that destroys everything, but the one that leaves no room for escape. Before we go any further, make sure you smash that subscribe button, drop a like, and flood the comments with your thoughts so we can keep this anime storytelling hype alive together. Alright, let's waste no time and jump straight into it. Here we go. In a ninja world shaped by intrigue and rivalry between villages, power is not measured solely by the scale of destruction a technique can unleash. In the Naruto universe, combat mastery is deeply rooted in one's understanding of natural elements, the fundamental forces that form the basis of every jutsu: earth, wind, water, fire, and lightning. When discussing elemental mastery in the ninja world, focusing solely on raw strength misses the bigger picture. What truly matters is creativity and technical expertise in elemental transformation. It's not just about destructive force, but about variation, tactical use, and intelligent application of jutsu. Among the 5 main elements, earth, wind, water, fire, and lightning, certain individuals have elevated their elemental abilities to extraordinary levels. This is where things get interesting. Take the earth release, or Doton, for example. It may not always be the most highlighted element, but in Iwagakure, earth is deeply tied to the village's identity. 2 major figures immediately come to mind: Kitsuchi and Inoki. Kitsuchi once demonstrated a massive Doton technique that crushed his target between 2 enormous rock formations, colliding like a colossal stone press. The sheer scale of this technique was impressive, powerful enough to restrain even beings comparable to the Ten Tails. However, despite its raw power, the overall variation of his earth-based techniques remained quite limited. Inoki, on the other hand, despite his small and aging appearance, possessed an incredible arsenal of techniques. He combined traditional Doton with his signature dust release, Jinton, 2 abilities capable of completely shifting the course of battle. His weight-altering techniques could immobilize enemies with a single touch, while his lightning techniques could boost allies' speed, such as the Rakeage, or even accelerate Gaara's sand. In addition, Inoki could summon massive stone constructs, including giant golems capable of withstanding attacks from Kage-level opponents. With a balanced combination of offensive, defensive, and support techniques, Inoki rightfully earns the title of the greatest earth release user, especially when his mastery is paired with the devastating power of Jinton. Moving on to wind release, many people immediately think of Naruto Uzumaki. His Raisin Shuriken is undeniably one of the most powerful wind-based techniques ever created. However, possessing a single overwhelming jutsu does not automatically qualify someone as the best user of an element. Compared to Naruto's relatively limited variations, Danzo Shimura demonstrated a far deeper understanding of wind release. During his battle against Sasuke, Danzo unleashed a wide range of wind techniques: sharp projectiles, slicing gusts, and compressed air waves. He even enhanced his attacks by combining wind release with summon creatures, amplifying the suction and destructive force of his techniques. He even reinforced his weapons with coating techniques to forge deadlier blades. While they may not match the raw power of a Raisin Shuriken, they clearly surpass it in terms of versatility and practical application. This naturally brings us to the water element, or Suiton. Tobirama Senju is often praised as the greatest water-style user in history. But if we look closer, is that reputation fully justified? Tobirama's ability to create massive water techniques without any external water source was undeniably groundbreaking early in the series. However, as power levels escalated during the Fourth Shinobi World War, his water style sometimes felt less extraordinary. In fact, Even Zabuza demonstrated water-style techniques on a much larger and more visually impressive scale, especially in defensive and battlefield control scenarios. So who truly deserves the title of the strongest water-style user? The answer is fairly clear: Kisame Hoshigaki. He wasn't just using water, he was shaping entire battlefields with it. Even while fighting with only 30% of his power, Kisame was able to flood entire arenas effortlessly. Techniques like water prison, shark tsunami, water clones, and the Great Shark Bomb, capable of absorbing an opponent's chakra to grow even stronger, made him terrifyingly efficient. Despite eventually losing to Might Guy, Kisame forced him to open the 7th gate using nothing but water style. That alone speaks volumes. Kisame wasn't just powerful, he was strategic, relentless, and lethal in how he used his element. Now, when it comes to fire style, there's a common complaint: most fire techniques rarely deal real damage. But there is one massive exception: Madara Uchiha. The moment he entered the battlefield, everything changed. His colossal fire techniques were so overwhelming that only an entire platoon of Kirigakure ninja could block them together. His flames didn't just burn, they devastated, injuring enemies and even overwhelming Kage-level fighters. Techniques like Majestic Destroyer Flame, Dragon Flame Release, and his advanced fire-based combinations, sometimes mixed with dust-like effects to obscure vision while incinerating enemies, made him unmatched. Compared to Sasuke, Jiraiya, or Hiruzen, Madara stood far above them as the most aggressive, versatile, and terrifying fire-style user in history. That's exactly why his name became legendary among shinobi. Finally, there's lightning style, or Raiten, the element most closely associated with speed and precision. The Reikage, especially the 3rd and 4th, showcased incredible defensive speed through their lightning armor, though their jutsu variety was fairly limited. Kakashi, on the other hand, offered far more diversity with techniques like Raikiri, Lightning Beast, and other advanced chakra-based lightning attacks. But when discussing the undisputed master of lightning style, there's only one name that stands above all others: Sasuke Uchiha. He elevated lightning techniques to a near-divine level. From Chidori to Chidori Stream, Chidori Senbon, and Chidori Sword, Sasuke demonstrated unmatched control and adaptability. He could reshape lightning, channel it through weapons, and even create electric fields around his body. With his Chidori blade, he was able to slice a tailed beast bomb clean in half. And then there's Kirin, natural lightning drawn straight from the sky, unleashed in an instant, and Indra's arrow, a lightning attack powered by the combined chakra of all 9-tailed beasts. Even if these techniques were rarely used, their destructive power was unquestionable. In the end, each of the 5 elements has its own supreme representative. But the common thread that binds them all isn't raw strength alone. It's creativity, variation, and adaptability in battle. True mastery isn't just about power, it's about controlling the battlefield, manipulating opponents, and deciding the outcome of a fight. That's the true art of the ninja world. When you really think about it, elemental abilities aren't just combat tools. They reflect a shinobi's personality, fighting style, and even their philosophy of life. That's why true elemental mastery doesn't just look powerful, it looks artistic. Each of these legendary users brought a unique color to the ninja world. Inoki, the stubborn old man from Iwagakure, proved that Earth style isn't limited to defense or brute force. His techniques that could make objects as heavy as mountains or as light as feathers transformed Earth style into a deadly tactical weapon, capable of controlling tempo and movement on the battlefield. Even his simpler techniques, like Earth Golems, had an overwhelming presence in war. Meanwhile, the controversial Danzo showed that wind style could be an incredibly flexible and lethal element in the hands of someone who truly understood it, without relying on oversized weapons or overwhelming raw power. And standing on the opposite end of the spectrum, Kisame Hoshigaki remained a walking embodiment of water itself, a living disaster given form. Calling him the tailless tailed beast was never an exaggeration. Kisame's mastery over water is on an entirely different level. Water isn't just a combat tool for him, it's his natural habitat. Every time he drags his opponent into a water-based battle, It feels like he's inviting them straight into his own territory. That's where his flexibility truly shines, turning aquatic environments into an overwhelming advantage that few shinobi can counter. Madara Uchiha, on the other hand, completely breaks the stereotype that fire release lacks lethality. When he unleashes his fire techniques, it's as if the world itself is set ablaze. This isn't ordinary fire, it's an ocean of flames so massive that even an entire platoon of water release users would need to combine their strength just to suppress it. Madara's mastery of high-level fire release techniques is absurdly overpowered, showcasing raw destructive force backed by absolute control. Then there's Sasuke, who doesn't treat lightning as mere ranged power, but as the very foundation of his combat style. His understanding of chakra and electricity allows techniques like Chidori, Kirin, and Indra's arrow to reach a whole new dimension. When he merges Susanoo with the chakra of the tailed beast to unleash Indra's arrow, it feels like the ultimate evolution of lightning itself, a climactic explosion marking the final clash between two legends. If you really think about it, their strength isn't just about destructive output. It's about deep understanding, bonds, and how fundamentally basic elements are pushed to their absolute limits. That's why their abilities feel so overwhelmingly powerful. The biggest lesson from all of them is clear. Mastering one thing completely is far more terrifying than having countless powers with no clear direction. This is exactly what we see in the shinobi world. 5 basic elements, refined by 5 exceptional individuals through creativity and mastery. In the end, these 5 shinobi don't just represent the peak of power, but the ideal way elements should be used in battle. Inoki with earth release, Danzo with wind release, Kisame with water release, Madara with fire release, and Sasuke with lightning release. Each of them is insanely overpowered, not just because of raw strength, but because their creativity shapes their identity through their element. That's why they stand out as truly elite shinobi. Their elements don't just define their fighting style, they define who they are. And that's exactly why Naruto as a masterpiece never runs out of things to discuss. Thanks a lot for staying with me till the end. If you have any questions or ideas, write them down below. See you in the next one.